What's up, guys? Been a while since I've done a good video for you guys. I actually had a subscriber reach out. I'll go ahead and read you his question. It was, what can you recommend for starting out polishing right away? I would buy the machine in the video, which was basically a Ruiz Mark III 15. Which pads and which polishing liquid? Is one polishing liquid enough, or do I need more pads and more liquids and different hardnesses, etc.? I have a compressor to blow out the pads as well. I mean, asking just for a starter package may be a good video idea. So I actually thought it was a great video idea. So I'm going to go ahead and make a pretty comprehensive video. It's actually going to be pretty long. I'm going to go through basically how I started, all the tools I used, and basically the backdrop of polishing cars. Now it's changed a lot. So when I started, so I'm 45 years old. I started when I was 17 as a detailer at a dealership. I was like a lot technician slash detailer, and I would go back to the detail center and practice polishing cars and cleaning cars with them. Then at about 20 years old, I started working at an auto body shop here in town called Foreign Auto Body, and I was basically a detailer for a very short amount of time. Then I got into polishing and being an apprentice for a painter, which lasted a very short amount of time. I picked it up really quick. And so I kind of just wanted to go over what a good starter package would be, you know, basically how I got started, what was different back then and how things have changed, and what I would do as far as a starter package, and then moving forward, ultimately what I would want to pick up, and basically show you guys my whole arsenal of mostly what I have. I'm not one of those guys I'm into name brands, but I'm also not into name brands in a sense. So like, for example, I use Purple Power degreaser versus, say, Maguires sometimes. And sometimes I'll have higher end stuff. Sometimes I'll have kind of lower end stuff. I definitely like to buy more of the higher end stuff, but just depending on what I'm doing. So here we go. So basically, I'll give you a backdrop. When I started polishing cars, I worked in a body shop, and every time you painted a car, you wet sanded and polished a car, or dry sanded it, as well as sanded it with, say, Trizac paper, and then you polished it. So that basically consisted of a Rotary Buffer right here. And this brand is DeWalt. The other brand back then was basically Makita was the other brand. And this is just what I started with. The reason I kind of like these buffers and I'm used to them is they are a direct drive buffer. There's not a soft start feature. And so basically what that means is as soon as you pull the trigger, you get power right away. So some of these machines, to basically eliminate the fact that you could possibly burn stuff, they'll have a soft start feature, meaning when you pull the trigger, it'll slowly start up and then start spinning. These tools, and I just want to tell you that I know a lot of people are terrified of these tools. Actually, I've been using this tool so long that I'm so comfortable with it. I've wet sanded and polished thousands of cars, especially with the Rotary Buffer. So I'm completely comfortable with it, and I feel like if you go about it the right way, you'll have good results. I can tell you with some of the newer machines, say the Ruiz, you know, the Adams tools, the Flex tools, all that stuff, the random Orbitals, the gear-driven stuff like the Melee from Ruiz, great tools, and it helps like soften that learning curve. But I will say this tool right here, although, you know, when I first started, this is all I used to use. They didn't have all these fancy tools they have now. But this tool right here, I still love for certain scenarios. Those scenarios of being, say, an old car where it was extremely faded, or there's a lot of scratches and swirls, and just you want to level the surface. This right here is a game changer, and there is a learning curve to it, but I will tell you that confidence plays a big role. If you believe in yourself, you can use this tool. Don't be scared of this thing. I can't tell you the amount of people I've had there, oh my gosh, a Rotary Buffer. Well, they're great tools, and they work phenomenal as long as you know how to use them. And my recommendation for this tool is low and slow when you first start. Turn the RPMs down as low as possible. turn the, move your arm speed as slow as possible. And I will say the Ruiz has almost replaced this tool, but there's certain times when this tool is awesome. Say, for example, you wet sand a car and, you don't get all the scratches out, then this tool would be, phenomenal. So there's just so many reasons why I would pick a Rotary Buffer. I will tell you that since I've learned the Ruiz system, as well as, some of these random orbitals, I've kind of since got away from this tool, but it's still something in my arsenal that I use, somewhat often. So I don't polish cars like I used to. Like I said, I spent 15 years as a painter and I wet sand and polished thousands of cars. So this is like an extension of my right arm. So it's a great tool to have. I still think you should have this, but I'll kind of give you a rundown of how basically how this whole thing started, how you use this tool, all the pads associated, etc. This will be a long video, and so just be patient. If you do find value in my videos, just do me a favor and, shoot me a like and maybe shoot me a comment, just so I can kind of keep motivated producing videos. Moving forward, I would like to produce a lot more videos. I feel like I have a lot to offer, and I feel like, once I simplify things for you guys, it can make a lot of sense. To me, it's pretty easy because I've been doing it a long time, but I do know the learning curve was pretty fierce, and I know what it took me to get to where I'm at. So I'd be happy to help any one of you guys, and I'd love to help you. So I'm going to kind of get straight into it, show you how this whole thing went down. So like I said, Rotary Buffer. This right here is my second Rotary Buffer. This is made by Ruiz. It has almost like a soft start feature as well. So it's not quite as aggressive as the DeWalt when it first fires up, and it definitely doesn't have, as high RPM. That machine right there is the old DeWalt machine, and it goes up to 3,000. This tool from Ruiz, which I really, really like Ruiz stuff. It's a super high-end product, and I'm a guy who, likes high-end stuff. So like I said earlier, some of the stuff I use maybe isn't quite high-end, like say some of my waxes and polishes. I'll use some Ruiz. I have a blend of all sorts of things. So I use the higher end stuff where it counts. But this is a phenomenal tool. This is Ruiz. I think this is the LHR 19, and this is their polisher. Basically it's like just a fixed rotation polisher. So they call them rotaries. Back when I first started, it was just a buffer. So here we go. So moving into it, basically 3M, when I first started out, had a couple options. You either had a foam pad to cut or a wool pad to cut. And you had a number one compound. You had a white cap with the white foam pad, or white foam pad or the white wool pad. This is a double-sided wool pad. And basically you wet sanded cars and you polished with this system right here. So you use the rotary with either the white foam wool pad or the white foam pad. That was basically what you cut your surface with. Then you've got to come into the step 2. So everything with a lot of these systems are color coordinated. Step 2 right here is basically the black cap goes with the black pad. And this is basically starting into the finishing product. So you'll cut with your wool pad or cut with your white foam pad, and then you'll step into a black pad with the black liquid. And then depending on the color, say for example, if it's white, you could stop here. But if it was black, you're going to want to step it out one more time. So that will come into... Now we come into the step 3, which is an Ultrafine pad from 3M. So this is all the rotary system. So that's how you did it. So it was step 1, step 2, step 3, and then I would put some finishing glaze on this with my air sander, which would be right here. So I would actually use my air sander, which I still use today, and I would put it on this, because basically an air sander is dual action. It's not a fixed rotation or a gear-driven product or a gear-driven machine. It's a dual action versus just a fixed axis. So it kind of spins, it oscillates like this. and then I would finish everything with this. I'd put a little finish wax on it, and I'd finish the car. Worked pretty good. You had to use a lot of technique, but the problem is by nature, this tool right here inflicts damage. So as long as you know how to use it, it's phenomenal. So if you had a black car, you step 1, step 2, step 3, you know, you keep your pads clean, you know how to polish. It's a phenomenal tool. The downside of it is a lot of times when you would wash cars, you would strip some of the wax off, and then you would see the rotary marks. Then they come into the new random orbitals, which I'm going to show you. This is my first random orbital tool. So this is the Maguires MT300. I actually went to a clear bra class probably 15 years ago, and this is the first time I really heard or knew about random orbital machines. So this was the first one I bought. In the class, they did have the Ruiz, but I decided to buy this one, which looking back, I would have just gone straight into the Ruiz. It was a little cheaper machine, but it's a little cheaper machine. So this is an 8mm orbit. So if you look, it oscillates about 8mm. And the Ruiz system basically is what they call the Bigfoot system. So looking back, if I was going to go into start, like say as a starter polishing system, I would cut with the Rotary Buffer and then finish with the Ruiz. So moving forward, now that I have the option of both tools, and this is what I do. So I cut with the Rotary and I finish with the Ruiz. So this is an 8mm pattern, like I said. But now with the Ruiz, you have starting at roughly, they do have a product called, or they have a tool called the Duetto, which is a 12mm throw, but this is the Ruiz 15, the 15 Bigfoot. This is the Mark III, so it's their newest tool, and I would 100% go with the 15. I've had talks with the guys at Ruiz, Jason Rose, and what he would recommend, and the 15 is pretty much the one I like, and it's the one he recommends to most everybody. So it has a 15mm throw, so it's more aggressive than, say, the 8mm throw from Maguires. The beauty of Ruiz is it's a super high-end product. They're super nice machines. They're Italian. They're just very well built. So I really like them. So basically I'm going to run through all my tools that I have, and then I'll show you the exact package that I would use just starting out, and then I would ultimately end up with what I have if you can. So just remember, this took me years to get. I mean, I've been collecting stuff for probably 15, 20 years. Well, I guess longer than that, you know, with auto body, but, you know, detailing probably the last 15 or 20 years. But all in all, I'm collecting stuff for 25 years, so plus. The next tool is the 21. So basically this is Ruiz Bigfoot 21. And this has an even longer swing. As you can see, it's a very aggressive swing. It's a 21mm swing. The beauty of this tool is if you're doing big, so your average car, you can use a 15. If you're using, say if you're polishing a lot of vans or you're polishing a lot of square footage, then I would have a 21. So ultimately, if I was going to buy one, it would be the 15. If I was going to have basically the whole system, I would do a 21. So next up, you're going to go into your smaller machines. This is actually from Adams. It's called their Swirl Killer. It is a 3-inch machine. This is their mini machines. I have multiple mini machines, whether it be electric, air. So basically, this machine is nice for, you know, let's say, for example, you cut a car with a Rotary Buffer, and then you come back with a 15 Ruiz and finish it out, and then there's areas you can't get to. This is where this tool comes in handy. It's nice because sometimes that smaller pad can get into areas that you can't get into with a buffer. So these are super awesome. And that is an electric machine. So I'll show you the air machine. This is also a 3M product, but it's made by Ruiz. This is probably one of my favorite tools. It has a lot of torque. A lot of times I'll wet sand just small spots with this thing, and it's truly amazing. Technically 3M, but made by Ruiz. It is a 15, and it's awesome. This tool right here, you know, say for example, you have just a small spot, you don't want to whip out a big buffer, a 15. This tool is amazing. Next up, here's a 3M air buffer. This is basically a rotary air buffer. This tool is awesome. You could cut something with this, finish it out with the Ruiz Mini, basically 3-inch. I do like the air because of the torque. I don't have the, so that tool, this tool right here is the LHR 75, and it's just the 75. The E is their electric version, which I don't have. The Adams is basically the electric one that I have. So moving up next, Milwaukee makes a pretty awesome one. And this is basically the same thing. It's basically a rotary. It's a baby rotary. It's a 3-inch rotary. So this is awesome. This tool right here is pretty amazing as well. This is the hybrid Nano. This is the long neck version. They do have a short neck version. I chose long neck because I felt like you could get into some places that you couldn't get to with the short neck version. The beauty of this tool is you could make it gear driven or random orbital based on, you can swap out this piece right here. And this is kind of a fancy tool. I wouldn't say it's 100% necessary, but if you are doing high-end stuff and you're wanting to fine-tune all the little details around, say like cowls and door handles, lug nuts, that kind of stuff, this is a phenomenal machine. I actually bought this tool because I completely wet sanded an old T-Bird and I had to get around the cowl areas and around the handles. He didn't want to take the handles out. So I bought this actually for that one job. I don't use it all the time. I wouldn't say it's 100% necessary for most stuff. The other big thing is what's your goal? You know, say for example, I have trucks that sit outside. And if I'm going to polish my trucks, I'm just going to kind of run over them real quick, put a wax over them after I'm done, and that's it. Or maybe a sealant or a coating. If you're detailing cars and trying to make them perfect, this is where some of these tools come in handy. So once again, Ruiz, super high-end stuff. It's awesome. Next thing, I would end up with a sander. Now I'll make another video on sanders and the throws of the sander, but this is basically a snap-on palm sander. I also have Hutchins sanders. I have snap-ons, you know, different snap-on sanders. I have Mirka sanders, and so these are nice little snap-on sanders. I really like the Dynabrade stuff as well. But as far as this tool right here, I utilize, so I guess the one thing about myself is I combine detailing and painting. So my style isn't 100% detailer because I have a painting background. So sometimes I use certain products and certain tools and I blended my style together. So this is a snap-on DA. This is this particular one is a prep throw, a 3/16 throw, and it's very similar to the Ruiz stuff. But these are nice, and I'll go over it in detail in another video. But these are nice when you want to, say, use a clay disc versus a clay bar. You know, production, you want to move through things quickly. This tool is nice. I like to finish and wax with this. I'm so comfortable with this versus whipping out a big 15 and having that whole handle and everything. This is just a nice palm sander. It's easy on your joints. After a while, your elbows, you know, may tend to hurt and that kind of thing. So this is a great tool. I would end up with this for sure. The other tool I would use is an auto body Minigun. So this tool right here is made by a company called SATA Jet, S-A-T-A Jet, and this tool I use for ceramic coating wheels. It does chew up a lot of material, but it is amazing in how fast you can get it done and the coverage. You can wipe it by hand, and most detailers probably do. You will save a lot of material. When you're doing high-end stuff, like with my truck, I ceramic coated the wheels, I ceramic coated the suspension, I ceramic coated the entire vehicle. Of course, I didn't do that with the gun, but I did do the suspension as well as the wheels with an auto body gun. So this is why I would use this. Also, in my detail styles, my average detail is between 2 and 10 days. I probably tend to detail more like the guys in the UK, where I go through things. I'll spend multiple days on the interior, multiple days on the exterior. I'll paint wheel wells. I'll go through everything, you know, super thorough. So this tool right here is magical in detailing. It'll basically fine tune some of the details. But like I said, ceramic coating wheels, this is huge. It does chew up a lot of material, but if you use some of the, you know, lower end materials, you can save some money. But you will tend to go through roughly a bottle on a full set of wheels, but you do get full coverage. So you're not going to be able to wipe in certain areas that, you know, you can get to with a paint gun. So these are little, what they call mini jets. Annis Iwata makes them. DeVilbiss makes them. You can get them from Harbor Freight as well. So moving up, the other thing, or moving forward, the other thing I use, there's a couple sunlights I use. You can use swirl finders. These are super important when you're checking your work. This is actually for checking colors on, you know, an auto body. This is a 3M sun gun, and it's pretty awesome. And it basically emulates the sun. This is definitely a tool. You're going to want to use some sort of tool to check your work after you're done polishing. They have swirl finder flashlights. I just use these because I already have them and they work amazing. The other brand I have is actually by the same paint gun company called Sodajet, and this is their light. The beauty of this tool is it's adjustable. So that other one, the 3M Sun Gun, has a couple different features where you click the button once and click it twice, and it's a little brighter, you know, on the second click. But this actually has a dial where you can adjust the light, which I really, really like. They call this the Soda True Sun. These are not cheap tools. This one's probably, I don't know if I remember correctly, over $1,000. And that one, it's probably in the neighborhood of $500. Scan Grip makes one as well, but you can get little swirl finder pens, which is probably the most economical way to do it. Moving forward a little bit more, the ultimate tool, I think everybody, I don't care if you're a detailer or anything, anybody, construction guy, I can't believe construction guys don't have these. This is a company called Tornador. I've had these for, I think since 2008 was the first Tornador I bought. And this is their dry blowout gun. I believe the part number is Z14. This is an amazing tool. This is definitely something I would use in conjunction with my detailing. And then I have tons of these little blowers. This is a Prevost blower. These are a lot of times OSHA blowers. So they're OSHA approved blowers. They're phenomenal. I usually run a cheater gauge on most everything. So this is pretty much, you know, the rundown of what I use. So I'll show you a little bit more as far as liquids and whatnot and what I would kind of end up using. So I'm going to go into, now I'm going to basically go into different pads. So I kind of went into the rotary pads as well as the rotary. Now I'm going to go into the random orbital stuff. Ruiz has changed up their products a lot. So back when I first started, they seemed to have more pads available, but they've kind of consolidated their line as probably they figure out what they really need to keep and what they really don't. But moving forward, basically the long and short of it is Ruiz, as well as a lot of different other manufacturers, make different pad sizes. So this pad right here has a 6-inch back plate with the 7-inch pad, and this is for your 21. So most every pad has, you know, as far as basically hard pads, soft pads have different sizes. So this pad right here is the 15 pad. So here's your 21 pad, here's your 15 pad. And then it goes down to the 3-inch pad. So that's for your little well, I guess this is even smaller. Oop. Here's your 3-inch pad. So this would be your 3-inch pad. This would be for the little hybrid Nano, and then all the way down to the baby Nano. So basically, right here you can see the different sizes. So this is the fine pad right here. This is Ruiz's fine pad. which is mostly the pad I use with their random orbital stuff as far as finishing. So basically they have, you know, the 6-inch pad, 5-inch pad, 3-inch pad, 2-inch pad, 1-inch pad. So they go into different coarseness pads. So this is a blue pad. So this is also a Ruiz pad, and then their green pad, and then this is their little hybrid Nano pad. So these pads right here are what I consider cutting pads to me. But with Ruiz, it's kind of a weird system because you have to get, and I'll get further into this about the difference between a rotary and a random orbital, but it's a different mindset. So I consider these more of a cutting pad. So the blue is a coarse pad. This is like a medium pad. This is their little hybrid Nano coarse. And I'll get back into that. So here's some other pads. So this is Ruiz's wool coarse pad. I really like these pads. Here is their medium wool polishing pad. And then this would be an example of, say, a Maguires pad. The Maguires system is a little different. So the red equals a cutting pad and the black equals more of their finishing. This is a microfiber pad. So I really like personally to cut with wool or microfiber. I'm not a huge fan of, say, for example, I'm not as big a fan as the blue cutting foam pad versus the blue wool pad. I feel like this, it just does a better job. I know with auto body, you can use the, you know, the white wool pad to cut, but I feel like it's more dangerous to use the wool foam when it's aggressive. So, and not that I'm worried about it, but I feel like if you're starting out, you wouldn't want to necessarily use the foam pads as much. I really like their wool pads to cut with. So, they also have basically this is their UHS pad. It's a pretty coarse pad. It's a real stiff, dense pad. You can see versus their yellow pads, really how soft the yellow pads are versus how dense and coarse the gray UHS pads are. So also go over, this is a Grios garage pad. There's a lot of different knockoff pads, lake country pads, and I'll get back to kind of basically everything that I would use all at once. But this is the Grios garage correcting pad. So this is going to be a cutting pad. This is going to be like a Maguires finishing pad. I use these finishing pads for waxing a vehicle. When I'm completely done, this is a 6-inch pad. I usually use it on an air sander. You could use it on your Ruiz 15. So the other liquids I would go into, so Ruiz, well, I'll go into Ruiz real quick. So Ruiz has basically a color coordinated system as well. So they're blue, basically coarse, and this is their DA coarse. They call it DA coarse now. They've kind of changed their system a little bit. But this is their coarse compound. Then it goes to the green, which is the medium. That's the medium. Then it goes to the fine, which would be this guy. And then it goes into the ultrafine, which would be that guy. So from my understanding, they do not have, so basically these two are what's left. So Ruiz has the coarse and the fine. These are basically the two that are left in their system. They've kind of since gone away from the green as well as the white. So going over a little bit more, Maguires makes a D105 Ultra Cut compound. This is kind of a nice compound. I'm not a huge fan of this compound, but it is a pretty good compound overall. Sunax makes compounds. This is a Cut Max compound. I like the Sunax products. It does cut. So basically this is called their Cut Max. It cuts at a level 6 and finishes at a level 3. So I would consider this like a diminishing abrasive. Diminishing means basically it starts out big, and the size of the compound is big, and then it diminishes into like more of a finer finish. That way it leaves less swirls and whatnot. So less holograms, less buffer trails. So they also have the correction compound. So this actually goes with the Maguires pads. So this goes with the cutting pads. This is a pretty nice compound. The other system that I like to use is Technician's Choice. This is where I feel like you can save a little bit of money. Technician's Choice products are awesome. This right here is their fine blue cutting cream. They also have Ultra Finish, which is pretty awesome. This right here, I really like with this yellow double side 3M pad. This is actually a pad in the Rotary line that is in a detail shop, but not in a body shop. Because the one thing you have to know about a body shop is everything's supposed to be silicone free in a body shop. This is not a silicone free product, but an amazing product. Where I would use either this blue pad or this yellow, these are polish pads. This is a step between the white wool pad and the black foam pad. This is a polishing pad. This right here, I absolutely love this yellow pad. Matter of fact, I barely use this white pad anymore and pretty much end up cutting with the yellow pad. So I don't even use, unless I have something that's extremely damaged, I don't use this pad anymore. I actually use this yellow pad in conjunction with some sort of compound. So one other product I forgot to mention is Freckla. Freckla is big in a body shop. I used to use with a lot of high solid paints. I used to use a Freckla system. And this Freckla product's an awesome product. Great for, I used to use like ICI paint, and it's phenomenal. So this is a great product as well. So kind of gone through a lot of different products. It's been a while since I've made a video, so maybe wasn't as fluid and smooth as it normally would be. So overall, if it was me and I was going to start out using a starter system, the first tool I would buy would be the Ruiz 15. So buy yourself a 15, and then I would get some cutting pads for it. I would get the Maguires correction pad, and I would cut with this, and I would cut with the Ruiz pads, which would be these guys. So in the basically, which correlates with the 15. I would cut with this pad, and I would cut with this pad, and I would cut with this pad. That would be probably the easiest way as far as a starter package, kind of save you some money. So I would cut with that, and I would cut with, basically I would cut with the